South Africa has thrown its weight behind the international community's call for the US to lift its economic and financial blockade on Cuba. South Africa, like the international community, is of the opinion that US economic sanctions is uncalled for and unjust towards the people of Cuba. This emerged at the South Africa-Cuba joint consultative meeting held in Pretoria today.
Relations between Cuba and the U.S. have been at odds for decades. This as the U.S. continues with its economic sanctions against Cuba. Calling on South Africa to add its voice to end the sanctions, Cuba said this was one of the greatest obstacles in its relations with the U.S.
And the United States continued, does not actually pay attention to this call launched by the international community. Once again, in the upcoming 28th of October, Cuba will be presenting a resolution in the framework of the United Nations to put an end to this economic, commercial, and financial blockade against Cuba.
Pretoria says the economic sanctions against Cuba are uncalled for and are hurting the Cuban people.
It doesn't make any sense to have the blockade. It's been there for so many years, and its original purpose has long since died. So who benefits from the blockade? Certainly not the United States of America, and certainly not the people of Cuba.
Meanwhile, Pretoria has also committed to working with Australia in fields of science and technology, agriculture and mining. The two countries' foreign ministers also met in Pretoria today. Both countries have been awarded a square kilometre array project, and this has had a tremendous impact in science and upliftment of local communities.
The potential for this massive science project to drive economic growth is enormous, and until you've actually seen the radio telescope and its Pathfinder precursor, it's hard to imagine what it will do for Australian and South African technology and scientific research.
On regional issues, they focused on SADC, hotspots in Africa, and how best to achieve peace and solve the conflicts.
We would never say we are truly at peace with ourselves if any part of our continent is experiencing insecurity or a period of instability.
The coming G20 summit came under discussion, and Mashabane said this should be a platform of communication between the developed and developing countries to work together. President Jacob Zuma is expected to attend the summit in November, which will be held in Brisbane, Australia. Lehana Tsoteti, SABC News, Pretoria.